My friends, today we're talking about the Sony A9 III, or X or S or whatever it's going to be. There's been some rumors of the upcoming flagship Sony camera that is going to be the answer to the Canon R5, which is an insane beast of a camera with some limitations, and obviously out of the gate it had some issues. Well, I think Sony's going to address a lot of those issues and then throw some more on the table. So that's what we're going to talk about today, just exactly what this thing might look like, the cost, the specs, and maybe some wish list stuff. Yeah, why not? Guys, if you haven't seen one of my videos, my name's Stefan Malloch. I do a lot of photography and filmmaking news reviews and tutorials, so if you do enjoy this type of content and you like this video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Anyways, I wanted to also say that for my subscribers, you guys might know that I am giving away this Viltrox 85 f1.8 coming up here pretty quick. So just a thank you to all of you who have supported me from the beginning. And I love to hear your feedback. So definitely drop all of your questions and your comments down below. And like I always say, Sony and the powers that be do watch this stuff, so your feedback is important. Anyways, let's talk about this A9 III or whatever it's gonna be. And apparently it's going to be released pretty quickly in the next few months here, maybe January, February. And again, nothing's concrete, but we can kind of go off of our rumors that we do see, and a lot of it turns out to be accurate a lot of the time. So the first thing to note about this new camera is that apparently it has an insane 50 megapixel sensor, which doesn't really follow the A9's model because typically it has around a 24 megapixel sensor, which is kind of the sweet spot between great low light performance and of course the ability to keep up with the buffer because it shoots so fast, 20 frames per second. And again, it's tailored to sports and wildlife photographers. It's literally the best of the best, and nothing kind of comes close to it. Its readout is on average about 3 times faster than any other Sony camera. So as far as autofocus is concerned, it's just unmatched. So putting that into a higher resolution camera is going to be really interesting. And my only thing I have to say is that I really hope that they keep up with the low light performance, because that's really important. And for me, if I get a 50 megapixel camera option with great low light performance, say compared to the A7 III, that is insane. And that's going to be hard not to pull the trigger on. So having said that, we're going to need some insanely fast CF Express cards to keep up, because rumor is that it's going to be able to shoot 25 to 30 frames per second, even faster than the A9 and the A9 II. And of course the A9 II might not have been a huge upgrade over the A9. It did in some ways, but an upgrade of 10 frames per second or a little bit more is just going to be nuts. So again, with that upgrade does come the need for faster memory cards and a lot more expensive memory cards. So again, with the resolution, I wanted to address something that is commonly talked about. And this is going to be kind of a weird thing, because the Sony A7R IV is a phenomenal camera. And honestly, I probably would have pulled the trigger on that camera already if you could choose the file size, something smaller, because not everybody wants or needs to shoot 61 megapixels all the time. And at this point, you just don't have the option to shoot in a smaller raw file. And again, that's a deal breaker for me, and I think a lot of people. So in this camera, 50 megapixels, that's coming very close to the R4. So in order to not cannibalize that camera, what do they have to do? Make it really, really expensive? Probably. But it has to, in my opinion, have multiple file sizes. If it doesn't, it's just not going to appeal to as many people. If it does, I'm strongly considering buying this camera, because it sounds like an obvious competitor to the R5, but Sony, with a lot of the limitations taken out, it's probably not going to have a recording time limit. It probably most likely 99% won't have any heating issues. It's going to have the stuff that went wrong in the Canon, and if people can pay a little bit more to get that, I think they absolutely will. So a 50 megapixel sensor that we're able to choose the raw file size, that shoots 30 frames per second, that's great in low light, that also shoots a rumored 8K, wow, that's going to be insane. So I'd like to also see the option to have either a CF Express card or use something like a UHS 2. So we have the option to not go out and spend $700 or so on a memory card. And of course the cost of those will come down in time, but for me and a lot of people, that's just really not feasible. So this camera does sound like an absolute beast. They'll probably make a few more tweaks to the body. Of course, have that flip screen and maybe make it a bit more ergonomic, because a lot of complaints are with the ergonomics of having such a small camera. But again, they've done a lot of improvements, and if we get something like the A7 R4 body, I'll be super happy. So again, what about the price of this thing? It has to kind of compete with the R5, which is pretty well priced if you ask me. And although it didn't come out of the gate very well with its issues, it's still an incredible hybrid camera. What does this thing need to be to compete or just blow the R5 out of the water? Well, the rumored $5,000 US I think is a little bit high, and that kind of prices even me out of it, because I want to have one camera that can do it all. I'm a hybrid shooter. So that's a little bit out of my range. I think about $4,000 would be the absolute max that I would probably spend on something like this. And I think around there or a little bit more, maybe max of $4,500 would have to be the price for a lot of people to pull the trigger and yet still stay competitive to Canon. Of course, there's the amazing Sony A7S III that is competing and in a lot of cases killing in video most other brands. But the A9 III, or rumored or whatever this thing's gonna be, is going to be the ultimate true flagship hybrid camera, if you ask me. So I'm really excited to see what this camera holds. Maybe it's gonna have a new type of sensor altogether. Maybe it's gonna be something crazy that we haven't seen yet. So fingers crossed for that. But as far as what else I could imagine for this camera, it sounds like pretty much every base has been covered. So of course we're gonna get the amazing autofocus from the A9, but just on a different level. It's gonna have all the active tracking and everything you'd expect from every other camera. It is a flagship after all. So what has to actually happen for this thing to be crippled? Because if they tick all the boxes, this will probably be the best camera ever made, if you ask me. And that's what it's kind of sounding like. But again, at $5,000, it better be. So let me know what your thoughts are, what you think this camera is going to be, if you think it's going to happen at all, and what it's going to take for you to buy it. And make sure you drop all that stuff down in the comments, guys. I love this stuff. I talk about it all the time. And if you have any ideas or suggestions on videos that you want to see, again, let me know. Anyways, let's leave it at that, guys. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it and you want to see more just like it, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and join the community. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.